Every road leads to that tower and what they're hiding from us.
If you have nothing to hide, open it up, take us for a tour, and we'll go home. We don't work at some top-secret government facility, or do we?
They were using the town as part of the experiments.
They wanted to split the mind.
People just walking around like zombies. Here come the cops.
There are real groups within the government. If you don't think that's real, you better do your homework. It is very real.
My name is Christopher Garetano, and I've spent my whole life exploring the darkest mysteries on Earth. Following that passion, I made a film that helped inspire the hit series Stranger Things. Now I'm digging even deeper into our strange world. Just 3 hours from Manhattan, on the eastern tip of Long Island, is Montauk, New York. There you'll find a mysterious abandoned military base called Camp Hero that spawned dozens of urban legends, from widespread child abductions to time travel to covert mind control experiments. These bizarre purported occurrences are collectively known as the Montauk Project.
Montauk's been an obsession of mine for over 30 years.
The story goes, between 1971 and 1983, secret experiments happened at the Camp Hero Air Force Base, which is only about a mile from here. When I was a kid, I walked along this stretch of shore here, and I didn't realize there was a base here until military personnel stopped me and told me to go the other way. And it sparked my interest for so many years going forward. I spent about 13 years investigating the alleged Montauk Project.
Local children were abducted off the streets, brought to the base, and subjected to brutal mind control experiments right under the now decaying Sage radar tower. I started my film Montauk Chronicles in '06, and in 2015 it won the Best Documentary Award at the Philip K. Dick Film Festival. The work I did on my film and the story itself inspired the global television phenomenon Stranger Things, which at one point was actually titled Montauk. It was based on this. My movie left me with more questions than answers, but the one thing I couldn't get out of my head was this notion of mind control.
Ultimately, my mission is to prove there were mind control experiments that happened beneath Camp Hero.
If I can actually uncover new evidence, then I could conceivably expose a government cover-up almost 50 years in the making. While shooting my documentary, I came across two men named Preston Nichols and Al Bielek. Both claim to have been brought to Montauk against their will to conduct these horrific experiments.
They wanted mind control into the mass population.
I was considered the psychic director of anything dealing with mental matters, psychic manipulations.
They wanted to split the mind. They wanted to shatter the mind. And then it was my responsibility to put them all back together again.
I came into this with a neutrality. I wanted to be respectful of the subjects, but I wasn't just going to believe them because they're saying it. I just found it to be quite interesting, and that's where we started. So
I actually never even heard of Camp Hero until I saw your movie.
Right, it's hiding in plain sight.
The government officially denies all rumors of these experiments and of the existence of any underground base or tunnel system. That's why I've come back to expose their conspiracy by uncovering new evidence.
After learning a lot of the details of this whole thing, you know, it went from a fascination about a an urban legend or a mystery to something that's very severe and very real. So that's my perspective, and it's evolving all the time. You know, I learn something new every time I explore this place. We're gonna learn something new now, coming here now. Right now we're on our way to talk to Dick White. He is the Camp Hero historian, and he knows a lot about what once was the Camp Hero military base. And as you can see now, it's all decayed and fallen apart.
We were granted access to the base, but the Sage radar tower is off limits. Our permit stops at the gates.
So I'd like to discuss the possibilities with him that there may have been experiments here.
Camp Hero was built in 1942, and it was a coastal gun emplacement, 16-inch cannons for deterrent for German invasion and also to lob shells on German submarines that were in the area. And when the war was over, they cut up the guns, took them away.
So that's when the Sage radar tower was.
Right. That was part of the DEW line, the distant early warning line. It spotted planes coming across the Atlantic Ocean.
And this would provide a 30-minute window of warning in case of a Soviet attack.
Right.
This is just an obsolete relic right now.
Yeah.
Was there ever any heightened security around here? Like where
Only
they
when
increased
the Air Force was here.
And that was supposed to be the time where these operations began. One of which was a mind control program where children were kidnapped from New York City and neighboring suburbs and brought here to be experimented upon in brutal ways.
They were beaten half to death, injected with hallucinogens, and bombarded with electromagnetic mind control weapons to the point where they were essentially remote-controlled puppets.
Is it possible that anything was happening here unbeknownst to the rest of the
growing up
town?
here, we knew the base was here, and it was designed to look like a quiet little fishing village. All the houses that house the troops here look like fishing cottages. But as far as anything other than a gun emplacement, no.
So at that time, even though they were trying to conceal certain things and certain operations, everybody knew what was going on here?
Yeah.
I only say this because even as far back as making Montauk Chronicles, I had somebody I talked to that told me about an enormous structure underneath the ground.
See over here, there's a whole bunker over here. Hey, look, we're on top of it, actually, look.
It made me consider heavily what may have happened here. Have you ever heard anything like that?
Yes. After the war was over, I would say in the late 40s, early 50s, as a kid, I walked through these tunnels and so forth.
So there were tunnels?
Oh, yeah. There were tunnels for barracks, there were tunnels for medical, there were tunnels for ammunition, there were tunnels for food.
Okay. Is that what they said?
Well, that's what they said. Okay, that's what they said. And when it became a state park, that's when they sealed it up.
To be clear, the government's official position is there is no underground structure of any kind here at Camp Hero.
You know, it's been a long time. I mean, I've been coming back and forth here for, 13 years. But we keep getting prevented to look around the perimeter of the tower.
By whom?
We're trying to get permits to go and look past the gate. We don't get it.
You know, even though I was born and raised here, lived here all my life, that gives me pause to say, well, maybe there was something here. And if you really think there's something here, I think you should pursue it.
Thank you so much, Dick. Appreciate it. I feel like this is a milestone today. His perspective changed, and he told me that he actually walked through the tunnels. The tunnels have since been sealed up, but the access tunnels that are underneath Camp Hero, Dick White was in them. And I've been told in the past that those tunnels didn't even exist. If you walk around the grounds here, you come across stuff like this. I've been told some of this stuff is for drainage, but we talked to Dick White earlier, where he 100% confirmed that the tunnels were here. So what we're looking at is access to the underground. All of that has since been cemented up. and they're all over the place. If you look around, look, there's one over there, and this goes all around the base. It's funny that they deny this stuff, but it's right in your face. It's all over the place. Every road leads to that tower and what the government's hiding from us.
But did sinister experiments only occur within the confines of the base, or did they extend beyond these walls?
Once the chemicals were dispersed, then they would fire up the radar.
Maybe they were using the town as part of the experiment as well. My name is Christopher Garetano. In 2013, I made a documentary called Montauk Chronicles, which brought forth testimony that an alleged covert mind control program was conducted just below the Sage radar tower in Montauk, New York. An accusation the government vehemently denies. Now I've returned to gather solid proof that these rumored experiments were in fact real. There have been whispers around town for years that strange things occurred beyond the confines of this abandoned Air Force base. And that's why I'm meeting with some Montauk locals to find out for myself whether these rumors actually hold water.
When was the first time you heard the story about the mind control stuff? Like what year?
I was a kid, 13, 15 years old at the time.
And this was late 70s? Or?
Well, it's 79,
79.
80s. So what I heard about all of that was, they would come through the town with like a pesticide sprayer. So it was like a tanker truck that was shooting chemicals off to the side. And the government would spray the town. They'd run through the roads, just spray them.
So you're saying they were using the town as part of the experiment?
Well, yeah, that's what I heard, was the town was the experiment. Right? And then once the chemicals were dispersed, then they would fire up the radar. The tower swinging, or pointing towards town, and then people just walking around like zombies. Just like zombies, just zombies. And I think it was through the radar, whatever they were emitting, what they were trying to control the people, because back then the government was all about that mind control and the super soldier and how can we genetically change you, you know, so I'm sure, listen, back then, I don't think anything was out of limits for them. Wow. Because you deal with some of these guys that grew up in that time, they're all whacked in the head, they're crazy people, they're imbalanced, they're all messed up in the head.
Do you think that's a result of some of the experiments?
I definitely think it's a direct result of the experiments.
I suspected that maybe they were experimenting on the town, but what you just told me about the chemicals is a new thing.
Maybe they were dabbling. They tried, they played with it. Did they capitalize on it? Did they master it? I don't think so. But I don't know.
No, there's something to that, though, because government mind control projects exist. Like MK Ultra, where they literally said they were making Manchurian candidate soldiers.
MK Ultra was a secret, illegal CIA mind control program that ran for 20 years. The goal was to find ways to force Soviet spies to defect to the United States against their will. LSD and other drugs were forcibly administered to prisoners and mental patients in an attempt to control their minds. This shocking experiment was the stuff of rumor and legend for years until being publicly acknowledged in 1975.
Brian felt that when the town was spraying chemicals, he felt that it was some kind of combination mind control experiment between the tower and the chemicals being sprayed. Now that, at first listen, that might sound insane, but once I learned about some of these previous government programs, my mind opened to the possibilities here at Camp Hero. Check it out. Area closed to the public, so beyond this point, you're breaking the law. Where we're standing right here is the structure where supposedly there were mind control experiments being conducted. One of the people that helped with those experiments was Alfred Bielik. I met Al in '06. This is a few years before he passed away.
There are rogue groups within the government. If you don't think that's real, you better do your homework. It is very real.
Al Bulick told me that he was part of everything that happened here. He was what he called the psychic director.
The techniques were very crude at first, and I helped them change it to a more humane, all-electronic system. And they wound up being able to brainwash people by the dozen.
You know, he's not around for me to ask these questions anymore. And I have more questions than I've ever had to ask him. I just can't. He's gone. So...
Here come the cops.
Why are they here watching us while we're shooting?
Maybe they're just...
I doubt it.
So, these officers have circled several times. So I'm not exactly sure why they're watching us. But I suspect it's all connected to the same thing. And I think there's something to hide here. So, and I always have.
Lots of people I interview have fantastic stories, but one man has some of the most concrete evidence that these grotesque experiments actually took place.
So I'm about to meet with Brian Minnick. He's a Hamptons local, and he's been exploring Camp Hero for 30 years.
There's the radar up ahead.
In the mid-90s, long after Camp Hero had officially been closed, Brian and his friends snuck in multiple times to explore and shoot video.
Here's the elevator shaft.
He had some of the most compelling evidence I've ever seen.
Over there. You seriously think they know we're here? Yeah, definitely.
They were often chased, occasionally arrested,
I have to go to court too.
and on a number of occasions were actually observed by suspicious vehicles and black helicopters.
Keep going now.
A high level of security that adds to my theory of government conspiracy to hide the truth.
Brian claims to have new evidence tonight, and I honestly can't wait to see what he has.
But I have a huge bag of stuff here.
I want to see it all. And what year was this?
This was 1995.
95, wow. It's just amazing that you captured all of this at this time, because this is just before they started filling things in with cement, right?
You got it.
Last time this was totally open. Now it's almost all cemented up.
I don't think I ever saw this. This is the first time I've ever seen the interior of the...
Oh, wow, okay, yeah. So all of the 16-inch gun bunkers are built as like cookie-cutter templates.
Right, but was there something anomalous about this particular bunker? Because, you know...
Yes. Here's a padlocked room.
Yo, what the f***? Why is this one locked?
Holy
Yeah.
Did you ever try and break the padlock?
I've been in this padlocked room.
Oh, you've been in there?
Yeah, and this leads to another tunnel behind it that goes down a half a story. In fact, there's a vent in the corner of the room. A friend of ours went in the vent and down another level, and I stuck my head in there. He was going in a room below us, and he found another vent. He was going to go down further. I said, don't go down any further because you're alone, and you know, I've already been in a tunnel where the floor was completely collapsed.
He's over there. We're not going to make it through this city without someone falling and getting killed.
I've always suspected that at some point there is an access to the underground base that everyone talks about. I mean, it appears to me that the entirety of Camp Hero is a man-made hill.
Yeah, they called it cut and cover, or they would just build and then bury.
This shows at the very least there's an underground at Camp Hero. And it backs up what Dick White told me about being in those bunkers as a kid.
What's in that hole? I'll get it back. What do you mean?
In all of the time that you were there, what was the most extraordinary thing that you feel you found?
Oh, well, and you could tell me what to make out of this.
Okay.
This is us hiding from the security, which is out front, and then we're gonna duck for cover inside of the next nearest house.
LSD rooms.
What am I looking at? What is it?
The LSD house, or the acid house, whatever you want. Even.
Amazing. This changes everything, Brian.
You could tell me what to make out of this. This is us hiding from the security, which is out front, and then we're gonna duck for cover inside of the next nearest house.
LSD rooms.
The LSD house, or the acid house, whatever you want.
Why do you call it that?
The first thing you think when you see that is drug experiments. And we found 4 LSD rooms. If you look at the ceiling, it's taped off. There's no paint drops on the floor. There's the trim has been taken off and taped off. The electrical outlets have been taped off.
Amazing. There's really no proper explanation for this outside of the fact that this house was used for drug experiments. Experiments that were not supposed to have happened here. On public record, the government denies anything like that ever happening here. But every room is deliberately painted this special pattern.
You're absolutely right.
What was this house called?
On the Air Force map, it's just named Yellow House. It was a barracks, but that's gone and there's picnic tables there now.
Well, it's certainly not a dorm because they wouldn't have this deliberate painting in every room and just stick people in there to sleep. There's obviously something happening here. You know, on a military base, what is this, a psychedelic party house? Doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. Who would put up wallpaper as a prank or as a vandal?
This is evidence that there were experiments here at Camp
Yes.
Hero. Brian's footage of the acid house, I think, is the road to proof that there was a mind control project at Camp Hero.
Some of these patterns are similar to the ones used in the most famous LSD experiments of all time, the Ken Kesey acid test. How else do you explain the deliberate patterns on the walls?
One of the most difficult challenges about my journey has been finding any of the victims of the alleged mind control experiments who are willing to talk.
They were looking for kids that would be assassins, you know, good with their hands, good soldiers. And it's going to sound crazy. All this is going to sound really crazy, and it's going to sound felonious, but this is all the truth.
They wanted a large number of programmed boys to be used for mind control operations.
They would take them to Montauk Air Force Base and essentially beat them to an inch of their life. They wanted to split the mind. They wanted to shatter the mind. Then they would program each individual piece for something else. It was my responsibility to put them all back together again. Then they were put back in the public as like Manchurian candidate soldiers.
If they said, well, you were part of this, you approved of this, what would you
I
say?
did approve of it, there was nothing I could do about it. If you're sitting there with 20 guns pointed at you, what are you gonna do? Whatever the hell they want!
Word is spread around town that we're here investigating, and a park employee, Joe Lafreno, has reached out to me claiming to be one of these victims who are known as the Montauk Boys. He wants to share his version of what happened under Camp Hero, and he's actually agreed to be on camera.
So Joe's boss is here and he's saying we can't interview.
Well, I don't understand. Who's he on the phone with? So he's saying you can't interview this gentleman. He knows the gentleman's here.
Well, Joe's hiding in our van.
Oh, okay.
So I don't think his boss knows he's here. Just back up, he'll hop in your car, then drive to the other side of the lot where his boss can't see you.
You got it. You got it. Gonna do it.
Okay. Hey, man.
Hey, how you doing?
How's it going?
Doing good. I'm Joe.
Good to meet you, Joe. I'm Chris.
So, that guy is so strange.
Agreed. Why can't you talk to us? Yeah.
Yeah. He's so freaking weird. I don't even know why he'd go through all that trouble.
I guess that was your supervisor?
Yeah. He's still sitting there, son of a bitch.
It just leads me to believe that there's something to hide.
It doesn't make any sense to me, and I work here.
It's good that I'm talking to you because it was difficult to find former Montauk boys that would talk. Did you recall any memories at all of being in any government project?
Yeah. I remembered a big giant room We were all young, very young. And it was dark, and I remember Preston Nichols standing in front of us. And he was giving orders. Preston was in charge of something. I don't remember him saying specific things. Because I can't even say what he was talking about, but I know what he was asking us was criminal stuff.
Really?
Yeah, it was bad. Yeah, so I don't know what was going on. As a matter of fact, I've never remembered any of this before 1994.
That was shortly after Preston's book came out, the first one. That wasn't
Right,
long
exactly.
after.
There was like a book signing in Montauk, so I talked to Preston, and I thought it was for the very first time.
Right.
But he said, "Do you remember anything about the underground, or do you remember me?" And I said that I remember you, but it wasn't you. It had to be him like many, many, many years ago.
Wow. So do you think it was a repressed memory?
Yeah. And then Preston said, I have like this ability or whatever to he called it deprogramming, but I believe it was some type of hypnosis. What I remember was being under hypnosis for about 20 minutes, but yet the clock on the wall said I was under for about 2 hours and 20 minutes.
Wow.
But then he played back a tape, and my voice was on that tape. I said the words, but I don't remember saying the words.
Right.
So it brought back the memories and made them real. Some people have said he probably put a message into your mind when you were under, and so you believe that this is true. But this stuff is just as real as me and you having a conversation.
Wow.
Yeah, that was...
It looks like your boss might be onto us. What's with this guy? I came to a realization it really just hit me what I think happened down there, partially. And it would explain a lot of the more fantastic stuff.
I just don't want to have any confrontation with him. You know,
agreed. Hopefully we get to talk again, man.
Yeah.
I've been reading stories and listening to people who claim they were part of this experiment for many years. Now, Preston Nichols talked about the exact... Sorry.
We're just getting shut down.
Oh, we are?
I think, well, I don't know.
Dude, his boss is blocking his car.
Wow, this guy's a belligerent...
Holy you think he's gonna get fired?
No. He's saying we can't interview the guy?
Something along those lines.
Does this seem weird to you?
Very weird.
No, but like a little too weird?
Yeah.
I just met with Joe Lafreno, an alleged victim of the Montauk Project and a Camp Hero Park employee. As we were leaving, Joe's boss harassed him about talking to us. Was this yet another attempt by the authorities to obscure the truth? And if so, what are they really hiding?
Can you believe that?
Yeah, what happened?
So, yeah, he told me I wasn't allowed to talk to anybody.
And what do you think of that?
Well, I said to him, as far as I know, my First Amendment right to speech has not been silenced just because I work for the government.
Right.
We don't work at some top secret government facility, or do we?
No, I hear you,
Or
man.
do we? I mean, all I do is parks maintenance out there. I've been working for the state for 16 and a half years.
Right.
I've never been talked to like that from any boss. I thought he was going to jump right through the window of my car.
Really? He was being that aggressive?
Yeah, he was very aggressive.
Can he get you fired for talking to us?
I can't be fired for speaking. I mean, what have I done wrong? Where have I broken any laws by speaking?
I don't know. Yeah, I think the park has something to hide. I think this guy has something to hide, and I think that they're afraid that we're going to find that something. That something is an underground base. And I think he's nervous about that. Thanks, Joe.
All right, thank you again.
Appreciate it, man.
All right.
Thanks. Wow.
It seemed like they didn't want Joe to get interviewed at all.
Yeah, so ask yourself this question, why? Come up with a practical reason why.
The only reason I could think of is that they would be hiding something.
Clearly.
The Parks Department is all over us, so we're not going to get any more answers here. Joe claimed his memory was erased, which makes me wonder how.
I said the words, but I don't remember saying the words.
Right.
I remember Preston Nichols talking about a type of electromagnetic technology that he claimed was instrumental in the mind control experiments.
That Montauk, and they had electromagnetic radios that essentially pull the mind out, put it on a computer, and then put it back in. This was the carry-on of MK Ultra, because you could use that electromagnetic equipment to shatter the mind. And then they would program the pieces. That's your horror show, right there.
I've heard rumors about other people using similar electromagnetic technology. Maybe if I can track some of this equipment down, I can get a better understanding of what the Montauk boys went through. I've heard these stories from Preston Nichols for so many years, and doing a little research on a gentleman named Michael Persinger who passed away around the same time as Preston Nichols, I found something that's so similar to what Preston described at Camp Hero. It's called the God Helmet. Michael Persinger believed that paranormal experiences like hauntings or apparitions were caused by electromagnetic waves. And so he built several devices that simulate that and affect the brain.
All right. There are really two selves, of course. And under normal conditions, you're not aware of this right hemispheric sense of self, because the minute you become educated as a culture, your left hemisphere takes over. The minute you learn to read, you change your brain forever. So it's a basic idea, two hemispheres, stimulate the right, get it activated, and you become aware of it.
So Michael Persinger worked out of Laurentine University in Canada, and his work is continued by one of his colleagues from the university, a man named Todd Murphy. I know he's in Seattle, and he is currently building God helmets. The God helmet doesn't sound nearly as powerful as what Preston Nichols described at Montauk, but appears to use similar technology. I'm so interested in using this thing. And I think it's important that we go to Seattle and that I have an opportunity to use the God helmet. What I'm about to voluntarily subject myself to is something that was reportedly forced upon thousands of Montauk boys. Mind-altering technology that scarred these teenagers for life. For over a decade, I've been investigating the Montauk Project, an alleged government mind control experiment that abducted boys and subjected them to torture, LSD tests, and electromagnetic energy in order to break their minds. I'm here in Seattle, where neuroscience professor Todd Murphy makes a version of an electromagnetic device called the God Helmet. The God Helmet technology is similar to what innocent teenage boys were subjected to during the worst of the Montauk Project. He's agreed to let me test one out so I could hopefully unravel the mystery of these mind experiments. Todd's suddenly fallen ill and won't be here to help, but he's had someone set the God Helmet up for me to use. What if this really is the same technology used to break and reprogram minds? It sounds kind of scary, but I'm willing to risk it if it can get me closer to the truth. We're going in a soundproof environment to, all according to the rules of Todd Murphy and the rules of the equipment, to do a 3-hour session with the God Helmet, the real thing. So I'm gonna go in there, I'm gonna be in there for hours, and nobody can come in. Once I'm past the threshold of the door, I have to lock myself in there.
Are you sure you want to do this?
No.
When I first heard about this thing and when I thought about using it,
I was a little concerned because I don't know exactly what it's going to do to me.
The God helmet was designed for scientific study of the brain, but a similar and possibly more powerful device was allegedly used to split the Montauk boys' minds. And what if that's how they erased Joe Lafreno's memory? I'm hoping to get a sense of how this process works and experience what the Montauk boys went through without irreversible consequences that could affect my mind for the rest of my life.
We're just about ready to do this, but we have to talk to Mr. Todd Murphy, the scientist. So let's give him a call.
Hello, Chris. How are you?
I'm doing well. You know, it's been a long journey, but I'm ready for this.
You didn't have any caffeine today yet, right?
No, not at all.
Okay. The first phase of the session is uncomfortable for some people.
Okay.
The other thing I'll tell you is that during the session, try and let your body feel heavy and relaxed. And don't think about what you might feel or experience. Don't analyze it. Just feel it, let it pass, move on to the next one.
Okay.
Let your mind wander, space out.
I will. So I'm ready to go, and so I'll just begin the first session, I suppose.
All right.
All right, Todd.
My thoughts will be with you.
Lost kids.
They wanted to shatter the mind.
Program boys.
Very weird. Very weird. It's like being in a dream state.
And I felt outside myself.
That's the best way I can describe it. I'm wide awake, but I'm having a dream.
I saw a chair sitting in the distance. I was walking towards it, but I was sitting in the chair.
There was an odd claustrophobic feeling. I was walking through different places. I was talking to people. I honestly began to feel transported. It seemed very much like the future. I could feel myself in two places at once, like I was drifting apart. I was hearing music. I started to see swirling colors, deep cosmic blues and purples. I was laughing with people.
Those laughs turned into horror. I thought about the Montauk boys,
torture, drowning, pain. Something wanted me to let go, and I began to drift away. And then, just like that, I came back.
You know, I try to immerse myself in everything I possibly can. When you actually take LSD and it's just so extreme and harsh, this is my meditation, but it's not exactly how you imagine it.
I've never felt anything like that before. But what if much more potent electromagnetic radio waves were used along with LSD and torture? Then I could see how this technology could be a powerful weapon to shatter minds.
After investigating the Montauk Project for over 13 years, I didn't think there was anything else I could find regarding anything that might prove that there was a secret government mind control program underneath Camp Hero. So I was reluctant to come back. But after speaking to Brian Minnick and Dick White, and especially after seeing the resistance that Joe LaFerno was experiencing while he was talking to us, I feel even more convinced there is a cover-up at Montauk. But the most compelling experience that I've had was using the God helmet. Preston Nichols talked about using electromagnetic energy. It wasn't until I actually used it myself that I realized it's very real. It affected my mind in the way it was described in a lot of the legends surrounding Montauk.
When you put this together with the secret tunnels, an acid house, and the Montauk boys' minds being erased, it makes me think that there's a very good chance that mind control experiments did happen at Montauk.
Montauk and Camp Hero still hold many mysteries for me, but that's just one piece of the greater puzzle in our strange world. It's a puzzle that I plan to solve piece by piece until I find the answers that I'm looking for.